Let's read my followers' stories. Growing up, my dad and I had always shared a special bond. He was a man of few words but always made sure his actions spoke volumes. One summer day, when I was about 10 years old, he decided to take me on an adventure that I would remember for the rest of my life, not knowing then how bittersweet that memory would become. It was a bright Saturday morning, and the sun was just beginning to peek over the horizon. I remember waking up to the sound of birds chirping and the smell of pancakes wafting through the house. Dad was already in the kitchen, flipping pancakes with a smile on his face. "Good morning, champ," he greeted me as I walked in, still rubbing the sleep from my eyes. After breakfast, he told me to pack a small bag with some essentials, water, snacks, and a jacket. "We're going on an adventure," he said, his eyes twinkling with excitement. I had no idea what he had planned, but I trusted him completely. We hopped into his old, reliable pickup truck and set off down the road. The morning air was crisp, and the countryside rolled past us like a painting. As we drove, Dad told me stories about his own childhood adventures, his eyes lighting up with every memory. I laughed along, soaking in every detail, even though I didn't fully understand their significance at the time. Our destination turned out to be a secluded spot near a small, pristine lake nestled in the woods. It was a place Dad had discovered when he was my age, and he had always wanted to share it with me. We parked the truck and hiked a short distance through the forest, the sounds of nature enveloping us. I remember feeling a sense of awe as the trees towered above us, their leaves rustling in the gentle breeze. When we reached the lake, it was like stepping into a different world. The water was so clear that you could see the fish swimming near the bottom, and the surrounding trees cast a serene reflection on the surface. Dad and I spent the day exploring the area, skipping stones across the water, and even trying our hand at fishing. He taught me how to cast a line properly and patiently showed me the tricks of the trade. I remember the look of pride on his face when I caught my first fish, even though we let it go back into the water. Around midday, we sat down on a large rock by the water's edge to have lunch. Dad had packed sandwiches and a thermos of hot cocoa. As we ate, we talked about everything and nothing: school, friends, dreams for the future. It was one of those rare moments where time seemed to stand still, and the world outside our little bubble didn't matter. I asked him endless questions, and he answered each one with a patience and warmth that made me feel important and loved. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the lake, Dad suggested we build a small campfire. We gathered some dry branches and kindling, and he showed me how to start a fire safely. We roasted marshmallows and made s'mores, laughing as we got sticky and messy. The flickering flames cast a warm glow on his face, and I remember thinking how strong and invincible he looked. Eventually, it was time to head back home. As we walked back to the truck, I felt a deep sense of contentment. The day had been perfect in its simplicity, a reminder of the beauty of nature and the strength of our bond. On the drive home, I leaned my head against the window, watching the stars begin to appear in the night sky. Dad turned on the radio, and we sang along to old songs, our voices blending together in harmony. That day remains one of my most cherished memories. It wasn't just about the adventure or the beautiful setting. It was about spending quality time with my dad, learning from him, and feeling his unwavering love and support. It was a reminder that sometimes, the best moments in life are the simplest ones, shared with the people who mean the most to us. Years passed, and life grew more complicated. Dad started to get sick when I was in my early 20s. At first, it was just little things, forgetfulness, fatigue, but eventually, the doctors diagnosed him with a debilitating illness. Watching him fade was the hardest thing I'd ever experienced. The man who had once seemed invincible was now fragile and vulnerable. In his final days, we often reminisced about our adventures together. He would smile weakly as I recounted the day by the lake, his eyes glistening with tears. "Those were the best days," he would say, his voice barely above a whisper. I held his hand and tried to be strong for him, but inside, I was breaking. When he passed away, the world felt emptier. The grief was overwhelming, and I found myself returning to that memory by the lake over and over again. It became a source of comfort, a reminder of the love and joy we had shared. In my mind, I could still see him standing by the water, his face lit up with pride and happiness. Losing him was like losing a part of myself. But in those quiet moments, when the pain of his absence became too much to bear, I would close my eyes and imagine us back at that lake, the sun setting behind us, and the world feeling perfect once more. If you want to share your story, write it down in the comments.